in a GB News exclusive, we can reveal that a grooming gang survivor only learned her rapist had been released from prison after seeing a police social media post showing not only that he was out, but that he'd also been charged with a new violent offence. GB News can reveal that the victim liaison services failed to inform her of his release, and her case was mistakenly closed after she moved house. She says that she's still in the dark about his licence conditions and is now demanding answers. Our national reporter Charlie Peters spoke exclusively to the victim, Eva. Not her real name. Her voice has also been distorted for her protection.
So what are your current concerns about victim liaison and you being informed of perpetrators of your abuse when they be released from prison?
So 2 people have so far been released from prison, and I was informed of one of them getting released but not of another. I wasn't told about either of them until I'd already seen it on Facebook, and then the liaison officers got in touch with me at a later date to confirm it. They need to start looking at it a case-by-case basis, looking at criminal history and the risk of reoffending, because these people have repeatedly offended their whole lives and they're still getting let out after sentencing.
How did you find out in the most recent case that one of your perpetrators from this grooming gang, this abuse gang, had been charged with another offence?
I opened my Facebook and saw it on the police's website announcing his charges.
And when you spoke to your victim liaison officer, did they apologise?
He said all he could do was apologise that I'd found out that way, and he had sent a letter to me that I'd be with me in the next few days for a victim impact statement.
Now, you've moved around for your own safety since your successful convictions of these perpetrators many years ago. When you moved most recently, several years ago, you said that they'd closed down your victim liaison claim.
Yes, so I informed them I was moving, and they said they'd do a transfer of care to the local authority of where I was moving to. Instead of doing that, they closed the case down. After a certain amount of time, I realised I'd had no contact, and that was a bit suspicious because I probably should have done. So a few weeks ago I started ringing around, and then that's when I was informed that the second person had already been released. And then by the time I spent a week trying to ring the victim liaison officer, and by the time I got through I'd already found out he'd been charged with another offence and been recalled back to prison.
Do you think that the police and the probation services and the government more generally take the safety of survivors seriously enough?
No, so in the beginning they were released on bail, even though some of them failed to attend bail. The one that failed to attend got remanded in prison, then he later got released again on bail to pending a court date.
So as it stands, you have no confidence that the victim liaison system works and that you'll be informed properly when perpetrators are released. That could put you at risk.
Yeah, especially like the most recent one that he's being charged with it's a severe crime. It's a very violent crime, so that just shows how much danger I could have been in without even knowing that I was in danger, because I didn't even know he wasn't in prison.
So, Charlie Peters, GB News reporter, an exclusive here. Well, let's go now to a lady who knows more about this injustice than anyone. Former detective constable with Greater Manchester Police and grooming gangs whistleblower, Maggie Oliver. Maggie, thank you so much for joining me. Now, this is horrifying, but if we sort of move away from the specific case, but let's talk about this in general, that some of these people who have caused these offences and abuses are being released and are being around near potentially their victims, as we already know. And there doesn't seem to be much being done about it, even though this is there in the forefront and we are talking about it.
Yeah, good evening, Nana. Eva's story is one that I hear time and time again. It's not an isolated case. And I have to say as well that it isn't just victims of grooming gangs that experience this horrendous trauma. You know, I've spoken a case that I'm known for, the Rochdale case, young Ruby. You know, her abuser, who had got her pregnant when she was just 13, he was out of prison in less than 4 years. She didn't know he'd been released from prison, and she bumped into him in the local supermarket and went into a complete and utter panic attack. Now, we took at the foundation, the Maggie Oliver Foundation, we took that forward. She'd never been informed. They used the excuse again that she had moved house. But the reality was that the house she'd lived in when all the abuse was happening, her mum still lived there. They could speak to me. The other really relevant point in this that I think all victims should know is that unless you opt in to the victim contact scheme, the authorities have no obligation to inform you that your rapist or your abuser is being released. You know, a victim is not considered, or they're not treated as a victim in the criminal justice system. They are treated as a witness, as an afterthought, as an inconvenience quite often. I mean, another case that Charlie often has spoken to young Elizabeth. Now, she recently went through the same process with a parole hearing where the victim liaison service told her that she couldn't attend the hearing when he was appealing for parole. She was told she couldn't take a support worker with her, where he had his solicitor sitting next to him. All these failures re-traumatise a victim, and it's just proof that they are always the bottom of the pile. And they're the changes that we need to see. Victims need to have rights. This should not be an afterthought. It should be their right.
Maggie, what is the scheme that they need to opt into? Because there'll be people who may be going through this who have maybe not contacted you, so they need to opt into the scheme. And then what is the protocol? So they opt into the scheme. What's the scheme called?
It's called the Victim Contact Scheme, and the Victim Liaison Service run it. Now, at the time of the conviction, a lot depends on the knowledge of perhaps their officer in the case or the people who are dealing with that case to raise that with them so that they can opt in. But many people, I didn't even know it until a few years ago, Nana, because it really is not talked about. But if they don't opt in, they will not be entitled to updates, and they won't know. It beggars belief.
It really does. Maggie Oliver, it's been short. It was really good to talk to you. Thank you very much. Now, I have to read this. A Ministry of Justice spokesperson said this was a horrific crime and our thoughts remained with his victim. Victims must feel safe, which is why offenders released on licence must follow strict conditions, such as curfews and exclusion zones that prevent them from approaching their victims. They face going back to prison if they break the rules.